Hello, my name is Catherine Fallis, and I am joined today by my panelist, Dr. Liz Thach, a Master of Wine. We're here for Planet Grape Wine Review to talk about Tawny Port. So the first thing that we want to talk about is Tawny Port as opposed to Ruby or the red ports like Vintage Port. Liz, what can you tell us about the difference between the two?
Well, they're both delicious. Obviously, the color is part of it. The reds are definitely going to be a glowing ruby. And the reds, once you open them, will last 2 to 3 weeks, which is really delightful. But the tawny, which is, I have a glass right here. It's just sort of the glowing sort of orange tawny. This is a gorgeous color. These will last up to 2 months after you open them.
Wow. And so the rubies, even a vintage port like you, I remember going to high-end restaurants when I first moved to the Bay Area, and they would have a wall of vintage port, and and I was just like, wow, I know vintage port because it's in the red category. It doesn't spend more than a couple years in barrel, versus the tawnies we're going to talk about 10-year and 20-year, and they even do 40-year in barrel. So the red port doesn't turn brown in all that time. In the barrel, it's still red. And so when it's opened, it takes in all this oxygen because it's so hungry and thirsty to breathe. And then it starts to oxidize rapidly. And so these vintage ports, you think, wow, it's so expensive and it's collectible and they're all by the glass, but how can they manage that if they can only last for 2 or 3 weeks? And I think a lot of people think that vintage port lasts for months and months or even years, and it doesn't.
So but then again, they only make vintage ports in the really good years. So that's something to look at as well, is what is the year of the port. And then, of course, the old British tradition was when you had a child born, you bought a case of port from the year the child was born, and you save it for 21 years. And then on their 21st birthday, you have a big party and you give them, I think, half the case.
Right. They're away for yourself. So there's, tawny port is the kind of the brown category, if you will. I mean, that beautiful orange, tawny, amber color from spending all that time in the oak barrel. And the tawny ports, to me, Liz, they seem more mellow. They're not as punchy. They're not as bold. They're not as powerful. They're more mellow and gentle and a little bit sweeter even. When you go from a 10-year tawny to a 20-year tawny, for me, the 10-year was very, very, very rich and very, very mellow and not so sweet, but it's, got a noticeable sweetness. It kind of tastes like caramel corn, candied orange peel, toasted almonds, so a little bit of that nutty character, and then vanilla. That was the 10-year-old, and I gave it 92 points, and it's about $40. What about the 20-year-old? What did you think of that?
So I have the bottle of the Graham's 20-year-old tawny port here, and I've been sort of sipping on it in the evenings with my husband, and I still have a few more weeks before my 2 months is up. But I think the difference with the 20-year-old is the color changes a little bit. So the 10-year-old is a little more, still has a little of the red in it, whereas the 20-year-old is definitely more glowing amber orange. And then when you get to the 40-year-old, even more so. So tawnies get lighter as they get older. And I also think they get more complex. So I tasted the 10 that you did, as well as this 20. And when I visited Graham several years ago, I tasted the 40, which was really amazing. But I think there's more complexity in this one. I'm finding a lot more different kinds of nuts in this one, the almonds, but then again, I'm even getting some walnuts and hazelnuts, and I'm still getting the orange peel, but I'm getting a lot more, just more of a caramel, even like a little bit of a smoky note in here with the caramel. And it's absolutely delicious. And one of the unusual pairings, my favorite pairing with tawny port is usually nuts, but it's also great with creme brulee. Really, that's one of my favorite pairings.
Nice. That sounds like a good textural pairing as well, because the tawny port is very glossy, if you will. It's very silky, creamy, soft, supple, like the creme brulee, the creme in the creme brulee. And I like the kind of caramelized top on the creme brulee that kind of pairs with the caramel notes in the tawny port. Liz, do you think these are good gifts, the grams 10 and the grams 20-year-old tawny ports?
Perfect gifts. I think they're great, especially around the holidays. They're, great with Thanksgiving. They're great with Christmas holidays and other holidays this time of year. But they're great for birthdays as well. Like we talked about the British tradition. But what's really nice about them is if you receive them as a gift, you can put them away and cellar them for a number of years. Nothing is going to hurt them. And then, as we mentioned, once you open them up, they'll last for 3 weeks, 3 to 8 weeks, depending on the type.
Nice. Yeah, so that's a nice thing to know. You get a big bottle of port and you're only serving little tiny tastes of it usually, because it is kind of rich and it is a little sweet. And when you're looking at 20% alcohol by volume, that's getting up there, not as high as spirits, but combined with the sugar, you don't want to overdo it. Port hangover, I think, was the absolute worst hangover of my 20s.
Really? I've never had a port hangover, Catherine.
Well,
but the other thing you can do with them, I don't know that I would do it with the more expensive 20 and 40 years. In fact, so I wouldn't, but you can make a tawny port and tonic, like a gin and tonic. So you can make like different cocktails with them too, which I thought was fascinating.
Nice. Well, that sounds lovely. And Liz, I know you want to tell us too a little bit about the Port University, the Port School.
Yeah, so this is a brand new thing that Graham's has just started. They've started it now for consumers. They've been doing it for a while for the wine trade and students who are studying for the MW and the MS, like you and I did a while back. And so now during COVID, they've discovered that a lot of consumers wanted to learn online. And so it's free, and it's an incredible value because there are 16 different modules on port, and each one of them is only 3 to 5 minutes. And after you watch them all, if you'd like, you can take a quiz. And if you pass, then you get a certificate sent to you. And so they have it on YouTube, they have it on Instagram. You can go to their site to access it. But it has some really interesting modules on it. Like I learned about the port gin and tonic, or port tonic, on there. And also they have things like how to find a vegan port, so really unusual types of topics, and it's very well filmed and it's free. So what a great way to learn about port.
There you go. And I love that you can find a vegan port now, because a lot of people are asking for that. Vegan wines, vegan spirits, vegan food, obviously. So that's amazing. Terrific. Well, thank you so much, Liz, for spending a little time today and talking about one of our favorite holiday beverages, tawny port, and this in particular from the House of Grahams. Graham as in graham cracker. Go to their website, check it out. And both of these are widely available even in the larger stores and chains where you shop. So when you're thinking about Thanksgiving or the holiday meals, pick up a bottle and pick up 2, keep one and give one as a gift. And it'll be a great holiday season. So cheers, and we'll see you the next time here on Planet Grape Wine Review.
Cheers, Catherine.
Take care.